Welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games, where we feed our people with relatable content and our victory condition is your satisfaction. I'm Harry, and before we go any further, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click on that bell notification. That way, when we are doing our thing, YouTube lets you know. Today, we have another episode of Monday Metagaming, where I cover some of the latest board game industry news, in particular highlighting those items and announcements that catch my attention and meet my particular interests. So let's get straight to the news. We have a lot of items to discuss, and each of these items is a major one. First of all, Ted Asbach and Bezier Games announcing the release of a Castles of Mad King Ludwig Collector's Edition, very similar to their Suburbia Collector's Edition that came out not too long ago. This will include the Secrets expansion plus 2 new expansions, all within one deluxeified consolidated package. Also, Stonemaier Games has announced the release of a game called Red Rising, based on the novel Red Rising. This is a co-design between Jamie Stegmaier and Alexander Schmidt. Again, as I mentioned, based on the novel, which is about a future dystopian society. Something about that topic that really attracts Jamie Stegmaier. This will be a card game that involves hand management and combo building. But at the end of the day, any announcement, any release made by Stonemaier Games is something that people should pay attention to. Also, the announcement of Hippocrates. This is a design by Alan Orbin from Trois and Black Angel fame. He is one of the co-designers from those 2 games. And this is a game about players taking on the role of 4th century Greek physicians striving to treat and care for patients, all in the efforts of one day becoming the successor to Hippocrates himself. Also, another announcement, we have Eagle Griffin and Vital Lacerda announcing that they're going to be putting out an expansion for On Mars, in particular called Surviving Mars. And what's interesting is that this is a cooperative expansion to the game. The Kickstarter for that expansion is expected to launch in May of 2021. Also, both Architects of the West Kingdom and Paladins of the West Kingdom have announced releases, or Garfield Games, I should say, has announced releases for both of these games. First of all, for Architects of the West Kingdom, we have the Works of Wonder expansion, and for Paladins of the West Kingdom, we have the City of Crowns expansion. So, an expansion apiece for those 2 very popular games in that very successful and popular trilogy. Also, Eggert Spiel and Alexander Pfister have announced the release of a 2nd edition for Great Western Trail. So for all you fans who have probably been looking for Great Western Trail and have seen that it's out of print or at a very expensive price, there will be an affordable 2nd edition coming soon. Q3 of 2021 is the expected release, along with a re-release or a 2nd edition of the expansion, the Rails to North expansion, which is expected more or less around the same date. Also very big in the Great Western Trail series of games is the announcement of standalone spin-offs to those games. First of all, we have the announcement of Great Western Trail Argentina, scheduled and planned for 2022 release, and we have Great Western Trail New Zealand, which is planned for 2023 release. So keep an eye out on those. And finally, we have the announcement from Gamelin Games and Scott Alms of Tiny Epic Dungeon, which is on Kickstarter right now. And Tiny Epic Dungeon is the latest game in this big long line of small tiny games, Tiny Epic series of games. And in particular, it's a dungeon crawler, a true dungeon crawler of a game. There are some fantasy adventure questing games in the Tiny Epic line of games, but this one is a true dungeon crawler, and it's the first Tiny Epic game to have detailed miniatures. Usually in the Tiny Epic games, you get small little meeples, and that's what you have to deal with. But for this particular game, we're going to be playing and manipulating highly detailed miniatures that represent your characters. Again, this game is on Kickstarter right now. I'd like to take this time out to give a shout out to my Patreon supporters and thank them for believing in this channel and backing us here. First of all, I'd like to announce the addition of 4 new Patreon supporters in this past month, bringing the total of this channel to 9. I'd like to shout out each and every single one of these 9 people. First, starting off with Wayne Jamel, longtime supporter. Thank you so much, Wayne. Like to plug his brand, DanielDreamGazer.com, which is a website where he sells his series of graphic novels based on Daniel, the book of the Bible. Also like to give a shout out to Vala Kementari. Thank you so much, Vala. A shout out to Marty Epstein. Thank you, Marty. A shout out to Raymond Mena. A shout out to Damari Naheda. Also, a new Patreon supporter, Nightingale. Thank you so much for joining us here, Nightingale. Alex Rodriguez. Thank you so much, Alex Rodriguez. Also, username Not Caitlin. Thank you so much for your support. And finally, the last shout out will be for username Chimichanga. Thank you so much, Chimichanga, for providing your support for this channel. Also, I'd like to announce and plug our 2 sponsors for the month. We have 2 sponsors for this month. We have American Pandemic. You could check out their information down below, AmericanPandemic.com. This is a party game that just recently successfully funded on Kickstarter. I have also recently uploaded a playthrough and review for this game. This is a party style game where players are recreating some of the events in a very funny fashion that occurred and transpired during the 2020 year of the pandemic in particular. Also, our second sponsor is another board game known as or another company known as Hotgamemagnet Games, and in particular their new game on Kickstarter, I believe it launches today, which is Bushpoo, which is a children's press your luck style of game, which I will actually be having a playthrough and review uploading in a couple hours actually today if you're interested in checking out a cute little children's game. So yes, I want to plug my 2 sponsors and thank them for the support for this month. All right, now I do have some major announcements I would like to announce for our channel and its progress and its milestones. First of all, the addition of 313 new subscribers. Now, we did suffer some casualties this month. This month was a little rough. We lost 28 subscribers, but that still puts our net result at positive 285 subscribers, bringing our total as a channel to 1,406 subscribers in total. 1,406. Also, it was a good year for traffic this past month, where we had 14,419 views, bringing the total to the channel to 90,309 views. We're approaching the 100K mark. It's very likely, unless something goes wrong, that by the time we have our next Monday Metagaming episode, we'll be celebrating 100K. And I'd like to thank all the viewers, the subscribers, the casual viewers, and definitely our Patreon supporters and our sponsors for doing all that you can to help support us during this journey to 100K, to 1,500 subscribers, to 2,000 subscribers, and eventually to taking over the world, right? Thank you guys so much. Well, that's it for the announcement. That's it for the board game news. Thank you so much for joining us here at When Harry Met Board Games. Consider clicking on one of the videos that you see on the screen right now. Also, if you are not a Patreon supporter as of yet, how about you consider checking the link down below in the description and see how you can support this channel, and also research and find a tier that works for you. This is Harry saying take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have fun gaming. Bye-bye.